There has been a less than subtle change in the weather. You've likely noticed a little bit of a forecast change toward the not so cold into the northern plains, upper Midwest. It's actually considerably warmer to our south. We'll talk about where the warm weather is building in and where the moisture is, because we're not seeing a great deal of precipitation in the forecast here in the northern plains, upper Midwest, southern Canada over the next 2 weeks. And we also have decidedly spring weather that has built in to some parts of the United States. Let's take a look, first of all, jet stream pattern. We still have this relatively easily defined split flow pattern, the more Arctic part of the polar jet, and then the main branch of the jet stream is still a little further south. This is very typical for this time of year, and we have a lot of cold weather in the northern plains and Great Lakes, and it's been fairly cool across much of the south. And as we go through this week, there's going to be a sudden shift of this ridge of high pressure lifting northward. That will pull very warm air right up to the snowpack line. Okay, and that's really the truth of it. Where there's snow on the ground, you might see a day that gets up into the 40s, but most of it will stay in the 30s. Where there isn't snow on the ground, you're going to see 60s and even some temperatures up around 70 degrees in South Dakota, quite possibly into North Dakota next week as we see this ridging take shape. Now, the northern branch of the jet stream, the northern split of that, is also kind of a little bit in retreat mode, and that's going to send the really cold weather back to around Hudson Bay and in the far north. The overall pattern will remain relatively cool, except the southeast will finally get a touch of warm air for a few days later this week and into the weekend. Let's switch to the second week and note we're still getting some cold days. By the dark blue and the cold, I mean high temperatures below freezing, but actually some of the days are going to be like that and some of the days are going to be not so bad. Some of the days will be thawing. I do think these snow-covered areas of North Dakota and Minnesota in the next 2 weeks will get moving on the spring thaw. Looks like, at least for the next couple of weeks anyway, it'll be happening relatively slowly. But by the end of the month, we should be making pretty hard inroads on what's left of that snowpack. And the pattern itself will continue to be relatively cool to mild across the north, and not really that warm of a pattern anywhere in the United States. Precipitation, I do look this week for another round of a strong nor'easter system with some inland snows, maybe even some near coastal snows, rain further south, southwest not getting anything. There will be snows mostly in the mountains with some rain in the Pacific Northwest, and the pattern looks remarkably similar over the next 2 weeks. Not a lot of precipitation in the northern plains, which is a good thing as the snowpack begins to melt. It's good to have fairly dry weather. Hopefully it'll stay that way with regard to spring flooding in the snow-covered northern plains.